Hello, my name is Tehila, High Priestess of the Coven of the Open Mind, and this is Wicca 101 Abridged. Hail and welcome. The topic this time covers initiation, a very controversial topic amongst witches, as we shall see. The common definition of initiation is well known, showing up in movies on all topics ranging from witches to college fraternities. Initiation, in this classic sense, is defined by Oxford Dictionary as the action of admitting someone into a secret or obscure society or group, typically with a ritual. By this definition, we see the classic admittance rituals so commonly portrayed in the media, wherein pledges are taken respectfully and solemnly to the coven and often to divinity as well. Many use this definition of initiation to assert that anyone not admitted into a secret group by a secret ritual is not a valid witch. Only a witch can make a witch, they say. However, many others use the full definition of initiation to assert that admittance into a secret group is not necessary for an initiation to be valid. See, there are really 3 definitions here in the Oxford Dictionary, which together also permit that initiations be either introductions to particular activities or skills, or actions of beginning in any sense. So by this full definition, an initiation can be anything from a simple statement of beginning a new part of one's spiritual journey to a sacred traditional ritual into a secret society. So there are many who describe in vivid detail their elaborate and magical initiation rituals with great pride, claiming that they felt a real change on that day and that they could not have felt comfortable in their practices without that change. Some folks work much better when they have peers, teachers, or mentors to help guide their way. So there's no one-size-fits-all approach to learning, no matter whether the learning is of books and maths or of a more spiritual nature. Some learn better by listening, some by reading, and some by getting their hands dirty and experiencing the work for themselves. So it's important to consider what type of learner you are when determining which path is right for you. Deciding that you work better when there is someone to hold you accountable is a very good reason to seek a coven. However, it's actually not the most common answer most folks give when I ask why they sought out a coven or why they sought initiation from a high priestess as opposed to doing self-initiation. So I must have interviewed like 30 people, or some ridiculous number, I lost count, in order to be able to write about this topic from every angle. In my book, I'm actually writing a book called Wicca and Witchcraft 101. If I ever have the chance to finish writing it, then you can all buy a copy, but I've been so busy with the actual coven. Anyway, so the most common answer that people give when I ask them this question was, that they wouldn't have felt ready. They wouldn't have known that they were ready to have the title of witch or to have the title of priest or priestess. They wouldn't have known they were ready without a third party saying so. And if you think about it, this is actually not a very good reason to push aside the possibility of self-initiation or solitary work. So as we mentioned in the first video, yes, it can be hard to separate one's perception of self from one's ego. And understandably, many people are scared to fail in this task. But the truth remains that the only real difference between delusion and magic is a sense of knowing, something deeper than logic or emotion, lingering on the very edge of one's consciousness, just out of conscious reach. So without the sense of knowing, it's really impossible to perform successful magic. I mean, perhaps some of the magic that you do will work, but it may not be as strong as it could be. It may not work as expected. Plus, if the spell does backfire, ego, narcissism, and some serious mental things, can happen to the caster or to the target, if it goes awry. And these hang-ups, can make it even harder to perform successful magic the next time. Like if you do magic and it hurts someone and then you're scared to try again, that can make it harder for you to even do magic the next time, and so on and so forth. So it's really absolutely crucial that one is able to rely on one's intuition before doing any magic at all. So, therefore, this intuition capacity is a precursor to becoming a full-fledged witch in practice. in being able to do the practices that a witch can do. So, it sort of creates a catch-22, which favors the lonely solitaire. You must have already developed the ability to know if you are ready to be a witch before you are actually ready to be a witch. So you may not feel ready, you may not even think you are ready. But if you are ready, then you should just know. And this is the real purpose of initiation ceremonies. An initiation ceremony in traditional covens is a rite by which an experienced practitioner of the craft verifies a dedicant's ability and dedication officially. So dedicants are those who have dedicated themselves to the coven, having expressed formally that they want to join the coven, but who are not yet considered full members because they haven't spoken any oaths. So rituals of this nature, these dedications, initiations are quite varied. Most involve some type of test that the dedicant must pass, such as finding their way through the woods to the ritual space, blindfolded and bare. There's a lot of nudity that is in Wicca because it helps you feel one with the earth when you're in your natural state is the idea. It's not sexual at all. We'll talk about it in a later video. So there's some initiations, and most initiations, basically almost all of them, there are some kind of oaths which must be spoken out loud in front of the coven, or at least the high priestess. And these oaths usually involve some agreement to secrecy, such that, the specific workings of any given lineage are never divulged to the public at large. The reason for the secrecy, actually, it dates back to the Middle Ages when persecution was way more common and witchcraft was easily mistaken for dark sorcery, though this is kind of like a controversial topic that a lot of people are misinformed on in and of itself, so that's going to be the content of another video as well. But so oaths spoken during initiation will usually have some kind of reference to divinity and or conduct, like what is acceptable behavior. There'll be wording like in love and light, in perfect love and perfect trust, and by the will of the Lord and Lady, that kind of thing. The statements are certainly of commitment to the coven. They're oftentimes of commitment to specific deities or to divinity in general, but not always. And in Wicca, though, they're almost always a commitment to adhere to the Wiccan Rede, which we'll detail in another video also. But the short version of the Wiccan Rede is harm none, do whatever you want, but don't hurt anyone. Okay, so oaths are normally poetic and mystical, and every word in them will have deep significance. Every single word is important. Initiation rituals are designed similarly to spells. They align the physical and emotional states of the person joining the coven. So this gives them reassurance that they are in fact ready to consider themselves a witch, and creates within them a specific sense of divinity, which is certainly compatible with the rest of the coven. Because the initiation is a ritual, this means that there is a transformative element also. Anyone who goes inside that circle will be forever altered by the bond that is to be formed therein. Oaths are spoken before divinity, oftentimes, but always before the coven leaders, and most importantly, before oneself. This way, those who are unable to see past their feelings and doubts are still able to cast aside these mundane distractions and act solely on their intuition alone going forward, thus solidifying their right to claim the title of witch. So initiation is an important rite of passage for those entering the craft, but ultimately one is still able to do magic without any such ceremony, so long as one has developed that deep sense of knowing well enough, to know if they're ready or not to do magic. This is why many prominent authors like Scott Cunningham, he's a big one for solitary practitioners. There's a bunch more. People can feel free to put their suggestions in the comments. But Scott Cunningham is one that I really like. They've started talking about the possibility of self-initiation as a valid approach to solitary Wicca. Many solitaries argue that initiation is not a requirement for solitary Wicca. There's no group to initiate into. Wicca is not founded by it's founded by many people. It's not like one person owns the keys to Wicca, has no central authority. So they'll say, well, there's no group to initiate into, so what's the point of doing an initiation at all? I'm a witch because I am a witch and I want to be a witch. So that's what some people would say. Others would say that, the full definition of initiation includes beginnings of any kind, really. So, think of dedications and initiations, ultimately think of them as useful tools to just guide you in your studies. And they're really just opportunities to define goals for spiritual learning and development. And then you mix these goals with spell work to help see the goals come true. And then you alter yourself in ritual to become a more effective goal-achieving seeker. So you see that there's this, there's 3 different kind of components to an initiation. So all of this said, how do you actually do an initiation? So as we've said, simply deciding to do something new or differently going forward can be seen as a form of initiation, but it's a rather weak form. This is the same as how all magic works. Sure, you can cast a spell with some concentration and a few rhyming words, but it would be far more powerful if you created an incense blend just for that spell and then charged that, and then selected crystals to use during the spell and charged those, and then consecrated a candle to be used specifically for this purpose, and then planned out a good day for the spell based on astrological considerations and or numerology. And then finally, you use that same concentration and those same rhyming words to seal a deal. So the more time spent preparing a spell, the more powerful the spell will be, and the greater the chance of success. The same thing goes for initiation. On a path of self-study, dedications and initiations can still be utilized to help guide one's journey along one's spiritual path. The dedication does not have to be some big, elaborate ritual. Just simply cast circle, sit in sacred space, and get your sense of where you would like to go on your spiritual path. Then speak aloud your intent to become whatever it is you intend to become, dedicating yourself to a deity or an ideal or anything at all as it relates to you. And all of this will help to motivate you in your studies and enable you to achieve more and feel more confident in your own decisions and your own skills. So if you still aren't sure if self-initiation or coven initiation is right for you, I'd start with some basic questions. Would it help to have a community to support you in your learning? Or would the rigidity of doing things just so make it harder for you to progress? Do you learn better from books alone? Or do you prefer to work with a teacher one-on-one? So you should seek out, that which will benefit you in your studies and leave the rest. That's my motto pretty much. So I must say, though, that even despite the increasing acceptance of self-dedications and initiations, there are many who will continue to think that anyone not initiated by an actual witch is not qualified. So most will still use your preferred title and call you a witch, but respect for your knowledge and experience is just harder to come by on a solitary route. If this is something that would bother you, then there's no shame in preferring to be initiated in a more traditional way, and you can seek out a coven. And if you're having trouble with that, check out witchfox.com or email covenoftheopenmind@gmail.com and we'll help you out. We have an online coven too. So here in the Coven of the Open Mind, like I was saying, all experience is respected and titles are awarded within the open-minded path lineage based on what skills someone possesses, regardless of where these skills were forged. The idea is that everyone is different and any path can lead to divinity. So that's initiation. This is High Priestess Tehillah, and thanks for watching Wicca 101 Abridged. From all of us here at the Coven of the Open Mind, blessed be.